A great Friday it is, and the weekend has just begun. That's how we, with a lot of delight, welcome you to a big talk this Friday. I'm Uyag Mofwebe in again for Eric and Michael. Tonight, we turn our attention to two big issues. The first has to do with climate change and all of the issues around it. Of course, we are looking at what it now means for not just Africa, but Nigeria in particular. There are questions about how is Nigeria responding to climate change, particularly in terms of the challenges now emerging every other day. Of course, Nigeria as a country has particularly participated in many of the global events around climate change and the environment. As a matter of fact, every 5th of June, every other year, Nigeria also marks the big day, which is the World Environment Day, like many other nations on earth. However, in what specific ways as a nation are we working to ensure that we find economic prosperity in the face of all the threats that are mounting up against the environment? Even the United Nations now says that, as a matter of fact, if Nigeria responds adequately and strategically, the country can become very prosperous economically, regardless of all of the headwinds that are now coming through on account of the degradation that we see across the environment. One of the factors that make it more intensely challenging for Nigeria is the fact that this is an oil-producing country where a lot of drilling happens every other day. In the final analysis, how are we responding in terms of climate action? Of course, we have the Ministry of Environment at the federal level, and we have that same ministry replicated across the states. As a matter of fact, today we now have the Climate Office, where you talk about the climate action and all of the projects and initiatives around it. Are these far-fetched? Are we getting commensurate results vis-a-vis all of the goals that have been set? We also want to look at the second issue tonight, the Nigeria legislature. What exactly has it turned into the last 26 years? It has been one form of controversy or the other. If it's not the Senate, it is the House of Representatives. Is that what it should be with this arm of government in particular? Tonight, our guests will help us find answers to some of these questions. We'll take a quick break. When we return to climate action.
Do you know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
One of the very core concerns around the climate change issue, especially as it has to do with Africa and indeed Nigeria, is when you look at it from the standpoint of the Paris Agreement, which in itself has met with certain kinds of obstacle, including U.S. President Donald Trump, who during his first term between 2017 and 2021 did rail against it. As a matter of fact, he had threatened that he would pull America out of that agreement once he became president. And true to his promise, once he got into the Oval Office, he did ensure that America was pulled out of the Paris deal. And then, of course, his successor, former President Joe Biden, would return the United States to that deal. And today, we're back to where the country had been between 2017 and 2021. In the case of Nigeria, for example, the concern perhaps is how can this country take advantage of all of the elements, or at least some of them, contained in the Paris deal? Is Nigeria moving with the rest of the world in terms of climate action beyond the razzmatazz that we see on the media and politicians falling over themselves to get extra codes to attend all of these global events that are focused on the climate and the environment? For instance, the Ogoni cleanup project is still in front of us, and next to nothing has been done about it. While former President Muhammadu Buhari was in office, there had been some 20 billion naira we had been told was earmarked or would be earmarked for that project. But today, the people of Ogoni are still asking, when exactly will this cleanup happen? And they say justice, they say charity begins at home and justice from the next door. So if we can begin domestically, how then can we find the moral and political courage to take the conversation to the global stage? We'll find out after this short break. My guest tonight is Dr. Babayo Sule. He is of the Department of Political Science and Administrative Studies at the National University of Lesotho. He joins us tonight live via Zoom from South Africa. Dr. Sule, I'd like to say we appreciate your time. You jumping on the program with us tonight.
Thank you very much. Good evening, listeners. You are all welcome.
Thank you. So let's begin with the issue of climate action with regards to Nigeria. There are people who believe, quite frankly, that all we are doing at best is just singing the song and everything left at the level of hypothesis. Is Nigeria marching alongside, or if you like, side by side, the rest of the world as far as the conversation around climate action is concerned?
Well, thank you very much. To start with, climate change is a reality. No one is disputing it. No one is not seeing the effect visibly surrounding our environment, just locally and internationally. But I have this to say precisely. Climate change and climate action is an exclusive imagination, initiation, policies, and innovation of the industrialized countries. I don't think countries like Nigeria have any business with that except domestic issues that are surrounding us and affecting us. But a collective, organized global action, I think, is not meant for the well-being or for the betterment of countries like Nigeria. Well, the reason why I say this is that first, if you look at the total emission in terms of the contribution to the global warming, the entire African continent, comprising of over 50 countries, is contributing only 3% of the total global warming in the world, which means if the whole of Africa is contributing only 3%, and there are countries like South Africa, like Ethiopia, like Egypt, that are becoming more industrialized than Nigeria, it means Nigeria may not be necessarily contributing even 1% of the global warming. So why must we be coerced into signing a Paris agreement in 2015 when this agreement was designed, organized, and initiated by these countries that are warming the world? It is supposed to be an exclusive signature of countries like, for example, the US and China alone, two of them, are contributing about 40% of the total global warming because of their industries and other activities that are detrimental to the coexistence of the mankind in the ecosphere and the biosphere. Then, these countries like US is now withdrawing on that from it withdrawn. It was readmitted and it is now still being withdrawn, which means they don't care about the action, they don't care about their effect, they don't care about their impact. So why are our countries going to the UN, as you mentioned in your introduction? Why are they going to various meetings, COP20, 20, whatever, all this in the name of climate change? I think what we need is an action at home. Of course, I agree we need action at home because we could all bear the witness of the excessive flood during rainy season, of the drought during drying season, of the increasing temperature, as now people are lamenting back at home. In some state or some section of the country, it is reaching up to 40 degrees centigrade. And other actions, just like what happened in the Alo Dam, the vehicle, and other issues, of course. Look at Lake Chad, for example. Lake Chad, which is practically benefiting about 30 million inhabitants from Nigeria, Niger Republic, Chad Republic, and Cameroon Republic, had now it is 95% depleted and dried. It is no longer existing. One of the promises in around, I think, 2002 or somewhere, a climate action agreement was that the Europe, under the European Union, will assist these Sahel countries to replenish the Lake Chad. And the easiest way, according to them, is to drag water from the Congo basin, from the Congo River, or if you like, from the ocean in Central Africa, which cut across Congo to Central Africa, now to Cameroon or to Chad, and then to Lake Chad to replenish it and refill it. But unfortunately, the activities of Boko Haram halted the process. Now, to draw water from the Lagos Lagoon is practically impossible. It's far, far away. And then during rainy season, Nigeria could not find an action, a process, a program that instead of this water flooding, to find a way that we can rechannel this water and then pour it into Lake Chad so that it will be domestically replenished. It means we are not doing the needful. And then, as you mentioned again in your introduction, the atrocities of the oil companies in terms of oil spillage, pollution, degradation, destroying the aquatic habitat in the Niger Delta, and other harmful practices are still not being contained by the Nigerian government. and the oil companies are not being held into account for this, and the Nigerian government is not locally channeling the money that is required to clean these areas. Now, who is deceiving who? The government is not acting. The global community, the so-called global community that is pushing forward this so-called climate action is not also forthcoming as it is. Companies are busy destroying our environment, in which action speaks louder than words. We should see how, for example, one of the agreement in the Paris Climate Agreement of 2015 is our countries are forced into agreeing that gradually or rather aggressively they will withdraw fuel subsidy, because subsidizing fuel according to agreement is leading to more carbon emission, is leading to more global warming. So we should refer to renewable energy such as solar and wind energy, and then anything that will lead to the subsidy will lead to the wasteful activities, so government should withdraw. So this is part of what the Buhari government kept on doing gradually, and what the Tinubu government could not be patient enough to do gradually, but rather drastically, without any thinking or thinking of the possible consequences, just withdrawing it illegally without even consulting the National Assembly to have the approval to withdraw it. And now we are all seeing the repercussions. So the issue is, actually, climate action means, to me, we should avoid these global policies, these global practices, because they are not meant for us, they are meant for them. And there are terms and conditions that are favorable to them and unfavorable to us, and they are not willing to. If Donald Trump, who is believed to have his country contributing more than 20% of the total global warming, is now withdrawing from this agreement, why do you think countries like Nigeria and other African countries will form part of this agreement when we have our issue? Look at how climate change induced conflicts are displacing in the northeast, in the northwest, in north central, almost all parts of the country. Why can't we look in, bring domestic means of adaptation, resilience, and survival by introducing maybe crops that are flood resistant, crops that are drought resistant, by finding a way to clean our environment, by holding these oil companies into account for what they are doing, which is harmful to our environment, and by the government itself initiating and introducing policies that will be beneficial in terms of countering, adapting, and resilience toward this, instead of just mere rhetorics, instead of just charade that is being perpetrated by charlatans in the name of politics, which is not really working. So this is my little take on this. I don't know, maybe if there are other things that maybe I need to say.
There are concerns around the moves that Nigeria has made so far, the last few years in particular, with regards to, well, efforts to respond to climate action. Well, we attend conferences every now and then, both within the African continent and beyond it. Are we putting our money where our mouth is in this sense?
Well, honestly, you know, the problem of Nigeria is not policies. It's not even the money. Of course, we don't have the money. We are not rich. Because if you look at our population, if you look at the wealth we produce, if you look at our GDP, if we look at our per capita, you can say we are poor. But we are only poor because we make ourselves poor. And the policies are not bad. The policies, most of the policies we initiate, whether on climate action or even anything outside this, all the money was allocated, but it was stolen. All the money was allocated, but it is not being put into practice. These are some of the issues that are always annoying as far as Nigeria's policy making and implementation is concerned. And I am telling you, the problem is that, as I used to say, if you are counting countries, 10 countries in the world, or I can even say 5, that are affected by the effect of climate change and that need climate action is Nigeria. For example, out of the 30 million people that are surrounding the Lake Chad, about 65% is from Nigeria, which means almost 80 million or more. There are Nigerians surrounding Lake Chad from Borno, from Yobe, from Adamawa, from Taraba. But then it is now almost dried up by 95%, which means we have a more population that is supposed to be benefiting in terms of fishing, in terms of irrigation, farming, in terms of transportation, in terms of commercial activities, in terms of tax generation and collection, but it is no more there. And those that pledge supporters are now saying there is insecurity of Boko Haram, so it's not feasible. And then we that are supposed to identify a local means of channeling some water into it to see how we can start replenishing it, we are not doing that. Now, when you come in internally within the country, it is the same issue anywhere you go. And look at how the Niger deltas are suffering for what they call environmental injustice because of the way their land is being, even though I don't need to go into this, also they are merging their activities with criminality, which is not supposed to be this, because if you are fighting environmental injustice, you are supposed to restrict yourself to it so that it will be justifiable and you can earn the sympathy and the eulogy of all activists and human rights, whatever. But even at the same time, no one can deny, no one can debunk the degradation. No one can go and do fishing now in the Niger Delta area. You cannot cultivate. You don't have a farmland. Sometimes even transportation is harmful because the toxic air that you will be inhaling and even the carbon dioxide that you will be exhaling are also detrimental to both you and the plant and animals that are coexisting together with you in that ecosystem. But what is the government doing? So therefore, to me, what we need is not to wait. Now, thank God that we have a president like Donald Trump, whom I'm appreciating some of his policies, particularly this cutting of aid. A country like Nigeria, we don't need aid. What aid do we need? For example, like some 4 years ago, I read that the Borno state government received an aid of $10 million from the government of Canada. During that time, if you convert the value of this $10 million to Nigerian naira, it's not more than 4 billion naira. Tell me, what is 4 billion naira to the Borno state government, either in terms of revenue generation or revenue allocation or shares from the federation account? Why will a state government that will have a budget and allocation of over 100 billion or more annually will be collecting 4 billion naira as an aid or grant from Canada to do what? Why can't we judiciously utilize, prioritize, and put our money into where it will work for us for any action? The problem is we are not even in a position to negotiate. What our countries, like for example, Nigeria as a leader of Africa, or rather as a demise leader of Africa, let me use this word because we are no longer what we used to be, should mobilize other African countries to now be pushing for a reparation, to be pushing for compensation from these industrial countries like US, China, UK, Germany, and others that are polluting the world, that are warming the globe, that are spilling oil and other things in our countries, that are just plundering our resources in Africa. Just look at what is happening in Congo. But unfortunately, anytime we go for this COP20, whatever, for this climate action Paris agreement, it's just a draft document that is already designed by these few elite countries that will just swallow hook, line, and sinker. You will see our president going to the United Nations. Those who write their speech for them will include this, that the Nigerian government reiterated its commitment toward climate action, toward all this, toward renewable energy, all this. We are only saying this to appease the sentiment of these superpowers without looking at our own part and where we'll benefit from. So to me, we should first take a domestic action sincerely, and then we should be pushing for a compensation. But what can you say when our government are even giving a room for these industrial countries to come and dump the toxic waste of their industries? I believe many do not even aware of this, that it is happening. And Nigeria is one of the countries that is affected. Guinea, Equatorial Guinea, Chad, Algeria, and many other African countries are giving a room for countries like Sweden, Switzerland, UK, US, China, and others to come and dump their toxic industrial waste in the Gulf of Aden, in the Gulf of Guinea, in the Atlantic Ocean within Africa, which at the end of the day is toxic, is harmful to our health. And the most annoying thing is that what they are paying for that is insignificant, because I read that if it is there in their land, for each ton of a toxic waste that is disposed within their land, they may pay about 100 US dollars. But here they can pay as low as $2 to $5 for each 1 ton of toxic waste. So in other words, we are not prepared, we are not ready for that. And I want to urge our government to be serious with that. We have the means. We have those who are expert in climate change, who are expert in climate action. We have those who have been investigating, who have been working toward that. All that we need is three things. The first one is we need to devise a means of adaptation and resilience internally. Secondly, we need to find a means of holding these countries that are responsible for it accountable. Third, we need to mobilize other African sisters to see how we can be asking for reparation and compensation from those that are warming the globe, in which we are not part of it, but we are most affected. I think that's what we need to do. We should be serious. Let us do the action, as we call it, action, instead of talking.
I must say, Dr. Sule, that's a brilliant punchline you left there when you talked about the need to put in more action instead of doing more talking. We'd like to say a big thank you to you for joining us on tonight's conversation, and we wish you a big weekend ahead.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure also joining you. Wish people there Ramadan Mubarak.
Right. I've been talking with Dr. Babayo Sule, who joined us live via Zoom from Lesotho, South Africa tonight. He's of the Department of Political Science and Administrative Studies at the National University of Lesotho in South Africa. Coming up next is the hallowed chamber still hallowed tonight. Well, we'll find out after this short break. Do stay with us.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
All right, let's have this second part of the program tonight, focusing on the legislature. In recent years, Nigeria's legislature, particularly at the federal level, has been hit by a barrage of controversies. Some of them, well, analysts say self-inflicted, whether at the upper chamber, which is the Senate, or the lower chamber, that is the House of Representatives. The most recent is the one, well, involving the President of the Senate, His Excellency Godswill Akpabio, and the Senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan. While tonight, of course, by all means, will insulate this conversation from all of the legal elements around it, we want to look at the legislature as an entity. What exactly has become of it between when we returned to democracy in 1999 and today, 26 years and counting? Our guest tonight is Global Television in-house analyst, Professor Ibrahim Abubakar. Prof, again, thank you, and here's wishing you a big weekend ahead of you. I'd like us to begin quickly because of time. A former senator, Shehu Sani from Kaduna State, says that in 2018, just because he made mention of what senators earn, he was almost suspended as well. Is it a way of saying, if that was anything to go by, that suspending senators is probably a method of punishing those who go against the rules of the House or something?
Well, I'm going to put it into perspective. The perspective of trying to create a scene when you know you are empty, to divert attentions of the public from the iniquity of the administrative structure or standards. Then the second one is being unable to come out and said, I am not effective or efficient enough to hold such offices. Nigerians are people who stays in office, and even when they have nothing to offer, wants to perpetually remain in that office. I think those are the two segments to it. Then coming down to your question, why should I be representing my people and you are representing your people and you are suspending me from representing my people for some time?
But they said it's based on the rules of the House.
There is the rules were created by some certain class of people who call themselves the principal officers. Were the rules created by the generalities of the people in the Senate?
But you subscribe to those rules once you become a senator and you are inaugurated.
When you subscribe to a rule, there is no subscription to a rule that you were not part of.
But those rules have been there even before this 10th Senate.
Let's look at what happened from Wednesday. The Ethics Privilege Committee sat down on Wednesday, finished on Wednesday, bring a report on Thursday. Is that a period enough to finish a case of sexual harassment?
You think that process was hasty?
That is not a process. Most of them are afraid of the Senate president so that they will not remove them as committee chairman. That is what happens everywhere. Whatever Mr. President says is what the federal executives take. They have no voice of their own because they are afraid that I'm a minister, I can be removed any minute. So what we are doing here is a yes man game. I have to lick your boot to remain in power.
Are you saying Senator Akpoti Ojuagan has stepped on powerful toes at this point? Is that the message?
Yes, because they all do it. They are all sexually harassing people, not even the co-senators, harassing ladies even in town, harassing mostly married women. And I will tell you the history. In the first, from 1999 to 2007, ladies, legislators, executives of organizations, ministers, and the rest were having relationship with young ladies who accuse them and come back and tell them we are pregnant, and they look for a way to settle them. In containing that, they fall back to married women. Because a married woman who falls into your trap is not going to say she's pregnant. She's not going to indict you in any way. And that has spread logically. So it's only people who don't know the implication of what has happened and has not looked at the history between 1999 to today that will say, oh, it is a total new print. It is not a total new print.
It's always been there.
Yes, it has been there. It has been there. Most homes have been broken by this set of people who bring in induced gullible married women and tell them that, who is that your useless husband? I will marry you tomorrow. And at the end of the day, when the woman has fallen into the trap, they leave them alone. So we have a lot of divorce cases, separations, and everything in there.
But let's look at the very fundamental implications of these developments on the Nigerian Senate.
That is why, if you are indicted, you should resign.
But is that not unrealistic, given what we know about how our politics works here?
I am coming. That is why I'm saying that these people, because all of them are soiled, will not want anybody to go. And they are not ready to go. You cannot tell Akpabio to go today, he will never go. From the day he's indicted till today, if he has not spent money to remain in that power, he has spent not less than $500 million.
But again, that's speculative.
It's not a speculation.
Because you
see, let me tell you, I have my what we call the cloud cameras in security.
Do they have payment advice for these transactions you just talked about?
He knows what he's doing. They know. They all know what they are doing. To remain in power, yes, he has spent that kind of amount, if not more than. It is a shameful thing. If we want to look at our culture, tradition, and the rest, if you are indicted to have had even an approach of a married woman, it's a taboo in all mannerisms.
So at this point, it will appear you're suggesting that the defense that the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, put up on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday does not hold water for you.
It has not hold water because, one, it is not about Natasha alone. The former interim MD of NDDC also accused him when he was a minister.
The lady from River State.
Yes, so why him alone? Apart from that, so many ladies has come out, so one way or the other, to accuse the same Akpabio.
You do not think that this could be some coincidence or something?
It can never be a coincidence. It is a woman who will not just wake up and said, this man has done this, done that against me one time or the other. It is not things that women are proud of, because women take notice of tomorrow. What if he's unmarried, they will say, what if tomorrow somebody is asking me of my husband married and they said I have an encounter or this with so man.
So they think about repercussions.
Yes, they think. Women think more than men thinks on things of that nature. They think. That is why even when you see a woman with a man and you know they are having an affair, if you ask her, she will deny it. Because of that subject, psychological subject in her, that will make her to say, no, if I accept this, it's an indictment in my part and it's going to affect my tomorrow, if not my today.
Okay, people have been calling for the resignation of Akpabio. In fact, what that means is apparently that he should voluntarily throw in the towel, as they say, metaphorically. In other words, they're specifically telling him, resign, because you can be a judge in your own cause. You can't be in the Senate, particularly being the president of the Senate, while this investigation is going on. Does it necessarily need to do that, given that we have not been able to substantiate this? The lady says she has evidence, but have you seen any piece of evidence yourself, Professor Abubakar?
I am telling you from the cloud cameras. I'm not supposed to say this on the open air. Yes. But the truth remains that you cannot be an advocate and a judge. Yeah?
At the same time?
At the same time, in your own personal case, you are supposed to exclude yourself. Even when Abba Moru stood up and said, no, 6 months is too much as recommended, he hit the hammer that it should be 6 months. And he continued to tell us that the husband of the same woman is your friend. So what kind of friendship are you people operating? What is a friend? Just as I always say, friends means free relationship, including enemies navigating directions. So when you get that, you must get that right. We must also know that this is where we are heading to. It's not just an issue of me, you, or not. This is something that by an African tradition, by the Nigerian tradition, no matter where you come from, whether the south, the west, the east, the north, whichever position you come from, is a taboo. First, in fact, by repercussion, by some areas where the woman married from, you are supposed to prepare some rituals. From the part where the husband is from, you have to prepare some rituals. In measuring it. So it's not something we throw away because somebody who is a Senate president is involved.
Okay, let's wrap it up because we're time constrained now. They say our Senate, our legislature is becoming some sort of banana republic. Is that not so much of an extreme appellation for the legislature?
No.
Excuse me.
These people has played gods already, so it's a banana republic. They are playing gods, doing whatever they want to do, telling every other person that the 200 and something million Nigeria that they are fools, and them who are just 109 people are just lots over them. That is what they have definitely tell us that we are. And we continue to take it that way because there is nothing anybody can do. The parameters of protection is on them. We give them free police service. We give them free security service, which is not done anywhere in the world. How many senators in America has police details? Yeah, we give them police details. So they are not close to the people. They make laws the way they want to make them and pass the bills any way they want to, without any care for the ordinary man who voted them in, who they represent. Have they ever gone back to their constituency and teach the people what the bills is all about? So yeah, the ignorance is an excuse to our laws. Whether we like it or not, ignorance is an excuse to our laws because the people don't even know the laws. They sit down in Abuja, pass the bills. After 4 years, they go back to the people and say, we need your votes. And because we have given them comfort of riches, money, they are the chairman of all the parastatals and sectors. They are chairman committee on this, on aviation, on this, on that, and so they are logically the contractors.
I can imagine. Incidentally, this is an unfolding development. Well, some people say it is an unfolding drama, but we're going to find a way to get Professor Ibrahim Abubakar back here as quickly as possible in the course of the week to continue to look at these developments as it unfolds. Prof, thank you so very much for taking our time this weekend to be with us on the program.
Thank you, too.
That's what we're leaving this discussion tonight, everyone. It is Nigeria first, ideally, as it should be, but that hasn't been the culture and practice for the most part of the time. But hopefully, we get back on track and make the country a priority number one. On behalf of everyone who has made this program a success, I'm Agumofwegbe saying thank you to you for watching. We'll see you again.